language of her partner, right? You also have acts of service, like doing things for yourself that make life easier for yourself. A lot of the times, we expect our partner, if that is our love language, we expect our partner to read our minds and to know what we want and what to anticipate and get for us. When sometimes we can do stuff for ourselves so that life is easier for us, ourselves. So things like therapy. So, as a psychologist, I couldn't make the presentation go on without dropping in the importance of like mental health, right? So an act of service for yourself is therapy. You can do things like cleaning, delegating, organizing, scheduling, planning, right? Receiving gifts is another one. So we say buying gifts for yourself and spending money on things that bring you joy. So going out, vacation, craft supplies, makeup. I know, for example, for Serena, her receiving gift love language for herself is buying a nice blouse or a nice pair of shoes. And when she steps in those shoes, she have all the more energy to speak in her
Let me
husband's
tell
love
you.
language, right? So
Yes.
receiving gifts, gifting yourself, right? Of course, quality time. And I know a lot of that is fleeting for many of us if we're living with persons. But spending time alone, if it's even 10 minutes in the bathroom by yourself, it gives you that quality time with yourself. So reading, relaxing, meditation, spending time on hobbies, doing things that you love to do by yourself. It's quality time with yourself. I always encourage the singles out there that, we should always spend time with ourselves. Take yourself out on a date. Take yourself to dinner. Do stuff with yourself so you're forced to just be with you and get to know yourself. And of course, words of affirmation. Again, I'm giving you the okay to talk to yourself as long as it is positive self-talk, right? Giving yourself a pep talk and encouraging words. So telling yourself that, you know what, you had a great day. You got 3 out of 10 things done is 3 less things to worry about. Daily affirmations, journaling, and of course, self-improvement. And these are different ways to take care of yourself, to fill up your own love tank so that you have the capacity to speak in another language, right? You have to be able to master your own language before you can speak a foreign one, right? Especially if you and your partner have different love languages. And then this final slide here is basically giving you a walkthrough of how to speak in your partner's love language. So you find out, first of all, which love language is your partner's own. And of course, like many of us, we don't necessarily have just one love language. We can have more than one, but definitely learning the top two can go a long way. So how do we communicate these things? The actions to take, and most importantly, you see the column there, the things to avoid. Because oftentimes, if you have words of affirmation and the only time your spouse talk to you is when they have a problem, then definitely you're going to say to yourself, him don't love me, And definitely during quarantine, you're spending more time with your spouse. There's less interaction with other people. You might end up nitpicking, finding faults with each other, snapping at each other. And if you're responding and negatively in your partner's love language, then for sure, it's going to drain their love tank, so to speak. So for example, words of affirmation, how do you communicate that? You encourage, you affirm, you appreciate, and you listen actively. You listen to what they have to say, what they think about stuff. Allow them to talk, right? I know some men, sometimes they're like, Lord, gee, more talking, but just listen, hear what they have to say. You'd be amazed how much less nagging you'll hear if you allow or give room for just regular conversation. Actions to take. Send an unexpected note, text, or card. Just something in the middle of the day. You don't normally call them or text them throughout the day because you know they're at work. You can just do something as simple as, hey, thinking about you, hope your day is going okay, or can't wait to see you when you get home, that kind of thing. And things to avoid for a person whose love language is words of affirmation, not recognizing or appreciating effort. When you see a person putting in the work or trying, don't diss a trying man, don't diss a trying woman. recognize it, acknowledge it, use your words. You have physical touch, of course. And how do you communicate that? Non-verbal use of body language and touch to show love. So even if it's something as you're in the same space with each other, and when you're walking past, you kind of brush against them a little bit, just to let them know that, hey, I'm not avoiding you. I see you, I'm attracted to you. Things like hugs, kisses, cuddling, and of course, things to avoid: physical neglect or abuse. You know that the way to hurt a person, if their love language is physical touch, is to avoid touching them altogether. You way over the other side of the bed, or you're on one side of the house and they're on the other side. Receiving gifts, thinking about things like thoughtfulness, making your spouse a priority, and giving thoughtful gifts and gestures. And when we talk about receiving gifts, a lot of the times persons automatically think, Lord, I don't have the money to keep up with that person's love language of receiving gifts. But it doesn't necessarily have a price tag attached to it. It could be something as simple as picking up the person's favorite chocolate, or making sure that their favorite drink is in the fridge being chilled in anticipation of them wanting it after a long week. Something as simple as that to show that you were thinking about them. And of course, the biggest thing to avoid if a person's love language is receiving gifts is no last minute slapdash, hurry up and drop in a gift bag type of receiving of gifts. Think about it ahead of time. Don't scramble. Don't forget the special occasion and is half hour before you're going to see them. You're just running through somewhere and grabbing something, right? Put the effort in that. Of course, quality time. You know that it is uninterrupted and focused conversation. So you're not going to be like, while you're on the phone, they're talking to you, you're doing something with them. You're not busy looking at the TV or checking your phone every minute or answering calls. You create special moments like taking a walk, doing small things with your partner. Something as simple as you guys folding laundry together after the kids go to bed, and just focusing on that and talking to each other, just doing a task, cooking together, cleaning together, listening to music together. Quality time right there. And of course, like I said, the things to avoid: the distractions when you're actually spending time together. Long time without one-on-one interaction is definitely one to feel distant if quality time is your love language. And then of course, finally, acts of service. Let them know you are wanting to help to lighten their load. And so, for example, something like making breakfast or dinner for them, going out of your way to help with chores, or simply saying, how can I help you? Is there any way, do you need me to pick up anything? Is there anything you need help with, right? And of course, the things to avoid: lacking follow through on small and large tasks. Don't say you're going to do it and then you end up not doing it. Or don't say you're going to do it and have the person almost nagging and checking and following up. You take too long to do it, right? That definitely can make the love language or the love tank drain. And for those persons who are not quite sure what their love language is or their partner's love language, these are two links. I'm going to copy and paste it and share it in the chat so that persons can take the quiz for free to find out what your partner's love language is, or what your own is, or what combination your own is. Very enlightening, very interesting, because sometimes we'll say to ourselves, in this instance, this is my love language. In that instance, this is mine. But you're not quite sure what your main one or two are. So this is the link here, and I'm going to share it in the chat with you all so that you can get a chance to test it out. And again, any kind of love language that you have, you definitely can go about doing this so that you can learn more about each other, right? I see a hand up here.
Yes, Zoe. Thank you for that. So I feel like I'm very much multilingual and I speak all 5 languages.
Yeah.
Is it too much though to expect from my husband wanting, something or these things from all 5 of these languages?
I don't think it's too much. I think it's too much if you expect all 5 every day, every time. I think it definitely comes down to communication as well. I'm sure Serena is going to be touching on that later on in tonight's meeting. But it's not too much, especially if you're not one to expect like grand gestures in all the love languages. So if you're acts of service, you don't want the person to scrub the whole house front to back every day. Plus, make sure that they say, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful, you look so wonderful, and text you every minute throughout the day. You know, as long as you're not expecting above and beyond, but definitely guide them, speak to him, tell him what works for you and what doesn't, you know, and what you need at that time. Because I'm sure it's not a case where you need all five all day, every day. I'm sure your needs change based on your mood and what is happening in
Right.
your life. So it's just a matter of communicating with him what you want.
Okay, makes sense.
All right.
Right, and Zoe, one of the things too, I'm sitting here with Serena. This is Raquel.
All right.
One of the things too, when we get home in the evenings and we're taking a shower and our partner is there, invite him in the shower. That's a part of speaking the love language. We
If
both
that,
get dressed together.
for sure, that's quality time.
Right, he's passing and I touch him on his bottom.
Oh, sure.
Or he does the
That's
same to
physical
me.
touch. Right?
So I think
Definitely.
those little things can spice up the love language in the household.
Yeah.
Are you sitting on the couch and maybe I have on a skirt and you maybe want to look under my dress to see what's there, what I have on. Those
Yes.
sort.
That's the thing. I feel like when persons, and I love the suggestions that you give, because I feel like when persons hear about the love languages, they think it's some convoluted, very complicated thing, when it's really just very simple, straightforward things that we're doing every day. But maybe we need to amplify one or two things based on your partner's love language. So, like I said before, I've had persons who've come to me for couples counseling where the person is like, I encourage them, I don't stop talk to them, boost them up, ask them how their day was. And the other person feels completely unloved because their love language is physical touch. And they're like, but I touch you, I hug you, and whatever else. But, you know, in their head, they're doing all that they can to show that they love the person, but they're not speaking in their language. And so it's just the little things and learning from each other where the little things go a long way.
Right, and Zoe, another thing too, like I said, to spice up things a bit, you know that sometimes, okay, you're dating somebody, and
Mhm.
when you're dating the person, the person would probably pick you up and you're in the car, and maybe because you had such a good time, you maybe pull off at the side of the road and probably make out in the car. But then because you're married now or you're with the person, you don't do that, and it maybe takes away from the love language that we speak, and maybe
Right?
those little things can excite but the relationship.
For
You're
sure.
where you and the person going out in the car, you pull off at the side of the road and probably do the same. You don't have the children in the car, it's just you and your partner. I mean, that's also part of intimacy that can lively up the relationship
Or
and make
even
it more
something,
fun.
right? Or even something as simple as you guys driving home and the person's love language is physical touch. Just rubbing their shoulder or rubbing their hand to just let them know that I'm here, and you know, I'm just right here, and I'm touching you to show that I acknowledge that you're there, and I love feeling close to you in that way. You know, I know that there are some men who feel really good when a woman is holding their hand while they're driving, or have the hand on the thigh, that kind of thing, to say, I'm here with you. As much as I'm on the phone or I'm talking to the children in the back seat, I'm still, my attention, it can still be towards you as well. So it's just those little things even. It doesn't have to even be those grand gestures like you said a while ago, but to spice things up and to say, listen, they're there, right?
Thank you so much, Zoe. This sounds like we're all sparkling bright people up inside here. But I tell you something, Zoe, I understand that men and women have different needs in intimacy. And I have someone who I've invited to just to talk from the perspective of a woman.
Mhm.
What are my needs? You know, What are the needs of women in intimacy? So we're going to talk about that now.
All
So
right.
we're going to build on your love languages, and we're going to see what it is that women prefer.
And please note, I've shared the links in the chat as well, so you guys can save that and do it afterwards.
Thank you so much. I want to invite at this time, guys, how are you doing with the conversation, guys? Any views, any input at this time?
Yes, Miss Serena. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I heard what Miss Joy was saying, and I found it very interesting.
That's Daniel. Daniel, that's you.
Yes, it's me. It's me.
Go ahead.
So I was saying that when I think of the love language, acts of service, I want to say as a man who is visual, like as they say, men are visual and women, are very audio sensitive. I believe that that's one of the ways women speak to men through acts of services. Like, for example, I am good in a traditional home. I am accustomed to see a woman, cooking a nice meal for a man, washing his clothes, just ensuring those, taking care of the home. I'm used to seeing those things, and I think women don't really understand how much that means to a man. No, that's just part of the act of service. The other thing, words of affirmation. I just want to spend a little time on words. How a woman speaks to a man really impacts to a man views. I'm just, can I be real? Hello?
Yes.
Ladies, are you hearing? Because Daniel is going on with himself, And I hope you're all hearing.
Yes, we're hearing.
Okay.
All right. So besides the whole cooking, cleaning, washing, and stuff like that, there's something that as a man that pulls me. A lady has infinite and quiet spirit. No, I know my mom and my dad, right? My mom is a very neat and quiet lady, very neat and quiet. And their marriage has lasted for a while now. And I'm saying that woman is really wonderful. I don't like when as a man when a woman is quarrelsome. I prefer. I'm not saying that she has to agree on everything I'm saying, but when she refrains from using abrasive language and step inside her femininity and respond or disagree in a respectful manner, I really appreciate it, because I think when a woman pushes off masculine vibes, masculine energy, like that quarrelsome, that competitive spirit, between me and her, I think that really pushes me away, because it feels like I'm in a relationship with a man, and I don't think the genders are completely
so if I may ask, the man is quarrelsome?
No,
you say when the woman puts off a masculine tone, quarrelsome and all of that. So you have to clarify,
All right. So when I'm talking about quarrelsome, no, I'm not saying a man is quarrelsome, but a man is much more assertive. This doesn't mean he has to be an arrogant, hot-headed fool, right? That he cannot take suggestions from the woman, but he's much more seen as assertive and as the authority figure.
You're gonna run in trouble with the very liberal society we are in now, with your very traditional perspective as it relates to relationships.
I so agree.
You're gonna run in trouble.
My wife says no.
Well, I think he mentioned as well the abrasive language, and I think that's part of what he's talking about. The whole heap of bad word and the push them kind of badness there. I think
but that's not gender specific.
Well,
That's the thing, you know. I mean, it's not
Exactly.
it's
That's
not
not
gender
gender
specific
specific.
at all. But what I think what is being spoken of there is really an individual's preference, and if a lot of times how we grow up and how we vision our own relationship, even though we don't realize it, it is how we've been cultured in our own homes, how we see our parents' relationship acting out, and so that forms your perception and of what you want in a relationship, and that's an individual thing, because there are men who don't like quiet women. They like sassy women. They like women who have fire.
Oh yes, you're describing me. Yeah, baby, go on.
Yes, and you know, they like women who is up for a good fight, a good intellectual spar. They don't like the docile, the woman who says yes, honey, and gives in to everything and all of that. They're very submissive there. So it is really, and that is where, even with the love languages concept, there it's a very idealistic concept. It is a very theoretical concept with practical dimensions, but rarely do you find two persons who align perfectly where the love languages are concerned. And so one of the things that those who contend with the love languages talk about is where you have mismatches, where you have a partner who doesn't like physical touch and isn't very good at giving you what you desire. But though, I mean, empirical evidence shows that those relationships work and last long. And so for me, it's about, and the researchers tell it, it's about understanding your partner. And I think one person raised the point, and being able to meet those needs as they fluctuate, because no one is static. And as we grow and as we evolve and as we change and as we get knowledge and experiences, you know, I mean, 50 years ago, I just missionary style, everybody when they do. Right? And if you talk about the church, if you talk about the church, they talk, don't go to your bed naked and all of those things. That has changed, that has evolved, you know. 20, 30 years ago, 15, as a young man, you talk about oral sex, them beat you, them lick you, go, them lick you, come, them start, the DJs, every song was about it. No, even though some people come out and talk about it publicly, I mean, the ladies will come and tell you, tap it nice, because you they do it. So, I mean, I think what is important is that partners, and when we talk about love, for me, love is the commitment to always being there. It's a commitment. And when you're committed, then you're willing to do what it takes to please the partner, which may include the 5 love languages. But it is about being able to adjust to what your partner needs. And I think that is critical to the whole concept of intimacy and love. You can have intimacy without love, you know. I said a mouthful.
Thank you very much, Antonio. I'm going to put you back a little bit, because I want you to look at, while we're looking at the various needs, we know within the Christian community there is some challenge, and you touch a little bit on it in terms of what you can do as a Christian person, missionary, and all of those things. I'm going to allow you to extend that a little bit more, you know, about it generally in terms of Christianity and intimacy. But before you do, I want to hear from you, Donita, in terms of the needs of women in intimacy. We hear about different love languages, and we hear Antonio give a mouthful. We hear from Daniel a whole lot, what his preferences are in terms of a woman, what type of woman he likes, you know, and what are the special needs that he would require in a relationship. So Donita, just share with us what you think are some of the needs of women in intimacy.
Hi, Donita.
Hi, Antonio. What's up?
It's nice to see you.
Right. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm not the expert on this topic. However, I would not disappoint my friends. So I did some amount of reading to see what is it we talk about when we talk about intimacy and being in a pandemic. as she had defined earlier on what was intimacy, and I am thinking about what is a pandemic, I have sought to find out that with the pandemic that is happening now, we are sort of confined, especially to space. So we have to spend more time together. So whether it is because of a curfew on the weekend, or it's a no movement day, or it is work from home, we tend to be in each other's space. And especially I'm talking about being the intimate relationship, not just having good friends and being there, but talking about intimate relationship, man and woman relationship. And the needs of the woman needs to be understood for there to be peace and love flowing in a relationship. The same woman that you would have loved on is the same person outside of a pandemic. Based on the different changes that has to take place now in COVID-19, you'd wonder if it's the same woman you had married to and loved and was having a relationship probably 10 years ago, you want to end in 10 days. But what are some of the needs of the woman now in intimacy needs in this pandemic? And we are bringing it home. Not talking about the book, we're talking about what's happening now. There is still the need for love and acceptance. A woman wants to be loved. She wants to know that there's somebody who loves her for who she is and accepts her no matter how she is or how she looks or how she feels. She wants somebody to respect her opinion, to spend quality time with her and to really listen to her and love her no matter what. In that loving and accepting of that woman, the woman also needs some amount of space. So some persons will say, but it's your partner or whatever. Yes, remember now that you have more time in the one space than what you'd spend some time at work. Both of you would probably be at work, working at different places. So you'll come home, you're always, want to see each other, talk about the day. But now your work day is probably at home or it is shorter, so you spend more time at home. The woman still needs a little bit more space. She would normally be going out or coming in, but not happening as frequent. She needs some amount of space. And we need to respect that. And it's not that they have gotten to not love you anymore or they don't want to have the touch anymore, but they just want some me time. There's also the emotional intimacy and communication. While she wants somebody to listen to her, she wants to know that there's somebody that she can talk to. You are someone who she can relate to. Some of us, we have our good friends at work because we can't talk to the man at home. Because some of us, as Antonio was saying to Galaxy A, I don't remember what Galaxy A name is. Sometimes based on how we're
Daniel, he's Daniel.
Daniel, based on how we were socialized, we think things have to be done a certain way. And so some of the women also, they don't want to talk because if they come out and talk, you might think that, I remember I had a friend who said to me that his neighbor was complaining to him that his wife had asked him for oral sex. And it brought controversy in the relationship because the fact that she asked the question, he started thinking that it's because she had gotten it before. Why? And all of a sudden, why she won't have oral sex and whatever it is. But it's just that then she was learning about that now, because as we say, everybody used to go missionary, but persons were exploring different types of sex. So she was trying to introduce it in the relationship or asking the partner how he would feel about it. And it caused a big controversy because for him it's because she get it a road already. Why? She asked a question. So you would never have her go back to him to talk about anything. She wants somebody who will listen to her, who is emotionally connected, and know that when him see her face, he knows, say, boy, she's not on the bright side. So let me see what I can do to spark her up. And who will always resolve a conflict. You know that there's always going to be, teeth and tongue people say, we'll meet. You two are in the space and somebody get up and leave something there. But you don't want to know that when you say X, the person say Y. You want to know somebody say, okay, babes, I know, I realize, whatever, sorry, or whatever it is. But you can have somebody who resolve without a third party intervening. That person is able to communicate in such a way that we can resolve our own little issues and stuff. You want encouragement and affirmation. You come home from work and you see the place that, babes, boy, you're tired of a place to the man. After you not do no work otherwise but the housework. Man, look for the place, man. Or like the way how you set the flowers garden or whatever it is. Affirm her. She's at home or he's at home. In the home and him fix the flowers garden, move them from point A to point B. Make him feel good. Babes, oh, you find time to do this? How you think about to do this or whatever? Affirm him, man. Send him a thank you note. You might never say it, but send him one thank you voice note or something and say, babes, me never remember to tell you this morning, but me just like how you did rub me back this morning, or me like how you prepared the breakfast this morning. Just give him some little kind words, some encouraging text so that him feel wanted. And some kind gestures every now and again, just do some of those things. And they really need companionship. They need somebody who they can play with, who they can pray with, and who they can spend some time. And when we talk about the love languages, we're talking about quality time. So they don't want to always be in the space, but the little time that they are together, they want it to be quality time, make it memorable moments. And then the final thing that I thought of and read about was spiritual intimacy. Probably it should have been the very first thing. You want to put God first in the relationship. So you want somebody who will call devotion, who will come and say, let us pray about something, who is always there. And I mean, put God first in the relationship. After that, everything else will add. So if you want to do it in a 1, 2, 3, you want to put God first. You want to let him help you in the relationship. You want to be praying together. You want to love and accept each other. You want to be sure that you're talking to each other. You want to affirm each other. And you want to pray and stay together. And I think that's it for my presentation.
Yes, Donita, you're going with yourself. And as Kerry says, men like to be pampered. So you talk about it, and I like the angle that you took, where you look at what women like, what women need, and what women can also do to enhance the relationship, the intimacy with their partners. I like it. So you flipped it on both sides. Very interesting. Thank you very much. I want to hear from the other ladies before I bring the men on, because they're going to be telling us what is it that the men need to be getting and what it is that men need. Thank you so much. Well done, sister. Any other? Right, I see. Great, Donita. Awesome. Looking at the Christianity and intimacy, the whole relationship where church going, what can I do on the Sabbath? What can I do sexually as a Christian? I want to go there for a little bit. I want to, Antonia wanted to take me there a little bit, and I wanted to share with me some of the needs that men have for intimacy. Sometimes we make a lot of assumptions as women, thinking that we know what the man wants, and men usually don't talk a lot. So I'd want you to speak as a man. What more would you want in your relationship? And maybe you can speak to what it is that other men in your environment, your community, so on, what it is that they would be saying would be the ideal for them in intimate settings.
Thank you very much. I think you alluded to it when intimacy is highly subjective, and I think our first presenter spoke about that when she spoke about the love languages. But there are some generic things. One of the things I want to do, a lot of ladies, like Valentine's Day or all of those things, birthdays, they believe that giving sex is that the vagina, that the coochie is all that the man needs as a sign of intimacy, as a sign of their love and affection. That's a very prevalent culture. No, so you're having birthday, all you're getting is sex. Valentine's Day, sex. I'm sure we've seen many examples of these type of things on the various memes that they create. Now, the truth is that men are very visual, and so in terms of sexual intimacy, we are aroused primarily, not always, but by our visual interactions. That is something that arouses quite frequently. But there is also the need. I think that a lot of times there is scant regard for the emotional need of the man and how the emotional need helps. I'm sorry, you see, my daughter is giving me trouble, and she's this, come get out of the room, man. You see, that's one of the things you have to put up with the woman, you know. This probably comes back to what was being said. Yeah. She's such a distraction. So it's important. It's important that women understand that men also have an emotional need, and it's not just physical. Intimacy for the man does not reside in the physical only. And one of the things that was suggested earlier, which I will support, is for a man, respect goes a long way. And a lot of the men who I would talk to, if they feel disrespected, then it impacts the level of intimacy that they will have with their partner. So respect is critical. Once respect goes out the door, as we say, then there is going to be a lot of issues in that relationship where intimacy is concerned. And a lot of times the man can get an erection by looking, you know, get the point, the man can get an erection. But the woman who, when intimacy is taking place, sexual intimacy, the woman can literally feel the vibe or the emotion. You say, boy, you know, you just, so it will just be slam bam, thank you, madam, as opposed to a deep, intimate experience, right? As opposed to being a deep, intimate experience. So a man can always bam, 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 and thank you, man. But we know that generally speaking, sex for a woman is a far more emotional experience for the woman than it is for the man. It is far more physical for the man than it is for the woman. But there is an emotional element to it for the man, which I think a lot of women underestimate, the emotional component of intercourse and intimacy for the man. The man also is not only stimulated by sex or physical activity. There are men who are stimulated by intellectual, and we spoke about a lot of these things. The man wants to feel that he's aroused by a deep conversation. He's aroused, he's turned on by a deep conversation, by the fact that he can have a conversation, above surface level, right? You hear some man say them no want yam head, just like how the woman no want yam head. And some people call it sexosapials. I don't remember the terminology, but when you're attracted, when intellect and intelligence arouses you sexually. So men also have, I think it's a myth to believe that men only want physical satisfaction. I think that's a myth. From my own experiences also, it's not just about the physical, it's about the emotional. If a man is emotionally uncomfortable, it affects his performance. It affects his performance, you know. Penis won't be as erect, all of those things. If he isn't settled in mind, penis goes soft. Right? It's not just physical tiredness that causes the man's potency to diminish. It's also emotional stress that causes the man's potency to diminish. And I think a lot of times women don't appreciate that. You know, why you don't want me, why you don't feel like, why you don't want to have sex. And point to note, there's a friend of mine who told me of an experience where he was in the middle of intercourse with his partner, and she started to correct him during intercourse, and his erection just went down, push her off and say, me done, right? So, and refusing your partner sex, you have to you have to be wise how you do it. There's a how that makes it important. The other thing too, and a lot of men complain about this when we talk, is the man doesn't always have to initiate. You would be surprised to know the number of women who believe that it is the man's duty to want sex, to initiate, to come and demand sex. Men like to feel desired. They like to feel wanted. And so it becomes, the man feels undesirable if his partner does not initiate sexual intimacy. The man will feel undesired. And so where you find a situation where the woman not initiating, the man not initiating, you're going to find lull periods, significant lull periods where there's no sexual intimacy, where there's not that kissing, where there's not that foreplay. And contrary to popular opinion also, a lot of men like foreplay, right? They like foreplay. Not as many as should, but a lot of men like and desire foreplay. And men have spots too, right? It's not just the woman and with her nerve endings at her neck and all of that. The men have their spots. They have spots that turn them on and things that turn them on. So I think there's a lot of myth that all the man wants is an erection to push in his penis and that's it. And bam, 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 thank you, madam. That's not the case really for a lot of men. And I think it's important that then that is noted. So the respect is critical for men. A man who feels disrespected is going to struggle to be intimate at any level of intimacy with his partner. It doesn't matter if it's emotional, intellectual, etc. The man who feels disrespected or knows he's being disrespected, intimacy. And that's not really only gender specific, to be honest, but see, owing to the fact that we're talking about the male. So respect is critical to the man. And the reason I say respect is because unfortunately or fortunately, a man's ego is normally bigger than that of a woman. And the woman who knows how to manipulate her man's ego is a wise woman, right? Who knows when to rub the head, who knows when to slap the man on the hand and all of that thing. So men appreciate those things. A good man appreciates when the woman can slap him on the head and say wrong, but at the same time can rub him on the head and say, boy, I love you. That is really appealing to a man. So men desire those things. Men desire that. Men like when their women look good. I know it's an old saying, but it is true. It's a cliche, but it is true. The fact of the matter is, for both genders, there are men out there looking your women. There are women out there looking your men. Don't fool yourself. There are women out there who on a daily basis pursue your man, married or unmarried. There are women out there who dress well, who smell well, who look well, who work at his office. And so you are in a competition, whether you believe it or not, because he's seeing this, he's seeing this, he's seeing this, and you have to keep up in that regard. And don't believe that when you broke down yourself, pop down yourself, and don't take care of yourself, that it is going to be appealing to your partner who is aroused by the visual. So it's important that you note that and that you do these things. As it relates to intercourse itself, the man wants feedback during intercourse. The silent partner don't work out. The silent sex is not good for the man. All right, he wants feedback. If you're always silent, he doesn't know if he is pleasing or not. And therefore, feedback is necessary. Groans, when it is pleasurable, the groans, the signs must be different when it is not pleasurable. Don't scold the partner during sex, right? There must be time when you discuss it after. And guide the partner. And you have to be smart how you guide, because sex for man, a man's ego is intricately tied to his sex, to his sexual activity. Confidence is intricately tied to his sexual activity. That is why a man with a little penis is not very confident, because it really impacts him. Or a man who suffers from erectile dysfunction is not very confident. And so during the act of sex, there has to be communication. Yes, No, not there. Keep it there, right there. Yes, that's the spot. Yes, yes, yes. Don't stop. Don't move. Right there, right there. No, change position. Stuff like that. Encourage him. Yes, baby, you are the man. Stuff like that. And I find and believe me, in my profession, spiritual and otherwise, I talk to a lot of couples. So when I tell you these things, I know what I'm talking about. Right? That's important. That's important to the man so that he knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, a lot of men don't take time to research a woman's body, so they don't know spots. They believe that it's just breast, lip, and vagina. And so your role is to help the man, to let him know that there are nerve endings at the bottom of your cheek, to let him know that your inner thighs has a lot of nerve endings, that your neck, that the side of your navels, that there are a lot of nerve endings. Guide him in those places. Kiss here, kiss there, touch here, touch there. Let him know that along your spinal cord, that is it. Let him know how to arouse you without tickling you, without making you laugh, stuff like that. Let him know what your foot massage. Teach the man. The man wants to be taught, but you have to pick the moments to teach him how to please you. And so those things are important. I could go on and on, but time won't allow me, as I also have another meeting. But there are a lot of things that, but the greater point I want to emphasize is that there's a myth that men don't desire emotional, that they are just sex machines and all they have to do is to be aroused. The man needs the emotional attachment also. The man needs the emotional connection. He needs the intellectual connection, and he needs respect. And all of those things impact the man's potency. I think I'll leave it there for now.
Antonio, boy, you outdo yourself. I tell you, this is rich, and this is exactly where we want it to go, because many of us believe we do how, and sometimes we do some things wrong, and we can't understand why our partners are offended and all of that, So it's really, really, really interesting. Antonio Erskine, guys, for those who don't know, he was specially invited. He is a pastor, and he's in charge of the Overseas Examinations Commission. He does a lot of consulting, and we are getting it for free tonight. And he, of course, is a motivational speaker, so he knows what it is that we ought to be looking for, and especially in the pandemic now, when you're so stressed about getting COVID, you're stressed about traveling, you're stressed about children going back to school, you're stressed about a lot of things. This is where we need to look at maintaining our intimate relationships and to see how much comfort and satisfaction we can get. It is very, 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 very important for us to get to be there. And so, putting it all together, we're looking at how do we understand intimacy? What is it that we need to look for in intimacy? How do we communicate intimacy? How do we let our partners know where we want to be touched? What we like, what we don't like? What is our love language? What is it as a woman that I will need from my partner? And how do I go to the ends of the earth to make sure I am satisfied and he also is satisfied? It's a lot of stories. It's a lot to tell. The night is far spent, the night is gone. But I want to just say quickly thank you to Antonio for coming and to just share your personal you. I hear the passion, I hear the excitement that you bring, and I hear the confidence in how you articulate the points of how men ought to be treated in intimate setting. I want to thank you. Donita, you were awesome because you bring something new to the table in terms of the whole spiritual aspect of it. Spirituality and sex and sexuality and intimacy is not so widely talked about, but you talk in particular about praying together. A family that prays together stays together, Daniel, I hear from you. I hear you talk about what your likes are, your dislikes in women. and it's a pity we could not hear more of you because our time has far been spent. But I want to close with a video just showing you a little bit about what's happening in the pandemic and how, you know, we can pick a page or two from this. So I'm going to share. We're almost there.
Simple as a...
Are you hearing, guys?
One of our most basic human needs. Sex.
Yes.
Good.
But when coronavirus has made something as simple as a kiss or a hug taboo,
We're so used to interacting with people and having touch. And without that right now, you know, we're really at a loss.
so how can we get the physical intimacy we need? Experts have offered advice from who we should be doing it with to how we should be doing it. For many of us, sex has become a burden. For others, a real problem. Someone once told me purple means sexually frustrated. Desperate times call for desperate measures, but which measures are the right ones? Here's some advice from my colleague and sexpert Kaz at the 77% DW's Youth Show for Africa.
Because I could. Traffic is crazy. What is it? What's going on? What's happening? Talk to me. I honestly can't take it anymore. Josh is driving me crazy. Okay, details. What's happening? Well, you know we've been together for like almost a year now. Mm-hmm. And everything was going great. But once the lockdown started, things just started to change with him. Especially after he lost his job. Sounds like he's grieving? I don't know. I can't imagine what he's going through is easy. But I see what you're saying. I've tried. I've tried to make him comfortable about the situation. I'm still able to cover the bills, but I just don't get it. He's become so distant. He sits in front of the TV all day. We haven't had sex in months. I just don't know what to do. Have you tried having an open conversation with him? I can barely get him to tell me what he'll have for dinner. You think he wants to talk about this? That's a tough one. But also quite common. I mean, I think Josh might be depressed. Yeah, maybe a form of intervention might help. Get someone professionally, preferably come to you, sit, have a conversation between the two of you, you know, I guess. Like, some men struggle to open up because they think it makes them look weak, and we have the patriarchy to thank for that. Maybe he feels like he can no longer act as the provider, which also traditionally is expected of men. But he needs to learn that he's still valued. Like, give him time, like an opportunity to heal. I think that's the best you can do. But what if nothing changes? Or if he refuses to listen? Then it's on you. You have to decide if it's the kind of environment you want to foster a relationship in. Otherwise, what will happen next time things go tough? You need to take care of your own mental health too. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. But what about the sex? I'm dying. Pull out your vibrator, sis. It's totally normal to lose your sex drive when you're suffering from depression, believe me. But be patient with him, you know? But in the meantime, you can meet your own needs. Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, enough about me. How about you? How are you doing? Oh, I'm getting laid, sis. You're so silly.
Researcher Raquel Peel joins us from my hometown, Brisbane. Raquel, good to see you there. Tell me, is your best sexual partner yourself during these difficult times?
Well, it depends. Are you a single person looking for someone new, or are you already in a relationship?
So if you're single, what do you reckon?
Well, if you're single, then you've really got to consider the safety issue with the pandemic. So I guess for me, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are your best partner. If I want to have sex with someone, I would be wanting to have that conversation about safety. Have they been checked for coronavirus? Would they consider getting checked prior to engaging in sexual activity?
But isn't that something that'll scare people away?
Look, when it comes to love and relationships, anything will scare us away if we are willing to go away. But I think if this is something that you want, I think that conversation is warranted. It's the same conversation around safe sex, wearing condoms. We need to have that conversation.
What about what the Terence Higgins Trust advised in the UK back in August last year? To avoid kissing, wear a face covering and choose positions that aren't face-to-face during sex. That sounds a little complicated.
It really does. And I think the advice that I would give is have a conversation. It's a lot more logical to talk about safety, to be open with your partners around whether you've been tested, around whether you would consider being tested. Those considerations to avoid intimacy, that's just not feasible. It's not something that we can, as human beings, do for too long. We are intrinsically motivated to connect. And I think the better advice is let's connect in a safe manner.
How long is it healthy to abstain from sex?
Look, I don't have that number for you. I would just say, look, again, as humans, we are intrinsically motivated to do it. So being told that we can't do it, I don't think that's the right thing. The right thing would be, how do we do it?
Raquel, what about cyber sex?
Why not? It's intimacy. The key element is intimacy. We can be intimate online. So I think that's a good alternative, especially for couples that have been separated by the pandemic, to keep up the intimacy. I would say online sex, but also conversation. So it's a way to keep connected. And I have actually heard from people who have been kept apart but found other ways to connect, that their relationship actually got better.
How did it get better? Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, it got better because, well, one, they had to be a little bit more creative with how they connected, not necessarily just sex, but also communication. And in that communication, they were able to tell each other what they like and don't like. And sometimes when we are together in the